Hidan has one of the weirdest set of abilities in the entire Naruto series. First of all, he is immortal. He can be beheaded and he is fine. He can still talk, which is something weird in of itself. The other types of immortality we see, like Orochimaru's and like Akatsuki's, are much more self-explanatory and make more sense. Hidan's is just a mystery, essentially. Also, the ability to transfer his own wounds into the person he marked with his bloody contract is another of those abilities that are mysterious, terrifying, and actually very cool to look at. We don't have any idea of how that works. I mean, we have an idea. We know he has to drink someone's blood, create that circle on the ground, and step on the circle, and then the ritual activates. But deep within, we don't know how that works. We don't know how much chakra it costs. We don't know what Hidan had to do to attain that ability. We just know it's creepy and weird, and it fits Hidan so well. That's a very good thing here, because sometimes going a little bit soft with your magic system amidst a very hard magic system can lead to some interesting variety and storytelling opportunities. The thing I like the most about Hidan's power set is that it's a mystery, essentially. Please never explain how Hidan got his powers. Let it up to the audience's imagination. Now sure, he always says, "Oh, I have to do the sacrifice for you, Lord Jashin," implying that this Jashin guy is essentially a god in the Naruto verse, but he seems to be the only person in the entire planet that believes in him. I see a lot of people saying that Hidan is justified in what he does because Jashin is obviously real because Hidan has powers through him. These people really miss the point. Think about it for a second. If there was a god in the Naruto verse, why wouldn't more people want to believe in said god? And why wouldn't more people crave Hidan's power? Now maybe it's very difficult to attain, maybe you have to do something horrific and most people wouldn't be willing to, but say Orochimaru, for example, he would be absolutely okay with anything if he gets to be immortal like Hidan is, because Hidan's immortality is the best one in the entire verse. The only thing that can kill him is malnutrition, which by the way killed him while he was down there in the pit that Shikamaru created. But in my headcanon, Hidan is still alive and still trapped down there, which is a much more fitting ending for him. But still, Orochimaru and people like him would chase after that power. They wouldn't care. They would try to somehow cut a deal with Jashin. Maybe not Orochimaru because Orochimaru likes to be in charge of things, but other characters would definitely do so. And Hidan is the only one with that set of powers, which leads me to believe that this Jashin guy is not even a thing. In my headcanon, Jashin is just a voice in Hidan's head that's just telling him to kill everyone he sees in sight through this evil ritual. This is much more interesting for the character than just having him do it for his god. Now, if he's crazy and if he's doing those things because he's out of his mind, it's compelling. But that's the beauty of it. We'll never know because we don't know the answer. That's the more exciting part about Hidan's power set and about soft magic systems. The mystery element to it. Hidan is one of the only characters in the Naruto series that has a quote-unquote passive ability. Something that he has activated at all times, it never goes off, and it doesn't seem to require chakra, which is his immortality. Of course, this is a completely broken ability, but Hidan was balanced by being the weakest character in the Akatsuki in terms of everything else. We can compare Hidan to Boruto characters that also have passive abilities, such as Ada, who can charm and make anyone that looks at her just fall in love for her on first sight, and therefore they cannot attack her, costing no chakra whatsoever to her. And we also get Damon, that has the ability to throw back the enemy's attacks or just their thoughts, and this is also always activated. Now the beauty of Hidan's passive ability is that we don't know what causes it. This is much better than explaining that Otsutsuki Shiba gave them their powers. Jashin is maybe a god, maybe he is something Hidan invented, and that's the cool thing about him. You have to understand that in many different situations in a story, it's much more effective to leave the audience wondering, how did this happen? Because if you provide an answer, the answer is almost always going to be less satisfying than the imagination of the audience.
The Dechlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
There are times that providing the answer actually improves the story, but literally introducing an alien god that transcended to another plane of existence because he became so powerful is definitely not one of them. Hidan's demise, due to his immortality, is much worse because now he is trapped down there, Shikamaru being his ultimate slayer, the man who trapped him for eternity. And yet, Hidan is still alive, suffering in pieces down there. And yeah, as I said before, he is dead technically of malnutrition. This is one of the worst things the data books have ever done. I hate when they interfere in the story like that. It makes me so mad. I mean, you can say, okay, yeah, this character can blow the universe, whatever, I don't care about hyperboles. But when you introduce these very specific details that affect the story and the conclusion of an arc, such as Shikamaru's and Hidan's, this is not good. Please don't do that anymore. The rules involving Hidan's power sets are not explained to us. If somewhere down the line we got introduced to a cult of Hidan-like people that all can use that ability, that would kind of ruin Hidan's character and the mystery behind the power sets. It can also be a problem for the universe itself, because if someone too strong, someone stronger than Hidan, for instance, gets that power and becomes immortal, then things can be very problematic. It's difficult to introduce soft magic systems in a narrative that's dominated by hard magic systems. Hidan's power set is very much a soft power set because we don't even know if it follows the same rules as regular ninjutsu, because regular ninjutsu takes up chakra and then you create a jutsu, but in here he has passive immortality and he cannot have infinite chakra because that's impossible, so we don't know how Hidan does that. And it's good, especially because he's a villain, so having this mystery power that we don't know how to beat and that's incomprehensible increases tension. If a protagonist, for instance, if a good guy has that, and I don't mean Hidan's powers exactly because they don't fit a good guy, but still, if they had a soft power, then things can get a little flimsy, because then you say, this thing he did here, it didn't make sense with the story, it was too easy for the protagonists. And that can happen sometimes when things are not explained and they simply happen in the story, such as Kakashi getting a perfect Susanoo via Obito transferring his eyes from the next world or whatever. Now, if you want to go deep into the rabbit hole, you can probably explain through logic why that happened, but it's still flimsy at best. That moment was much more related to the relationship between Kakashi and Obito than the power system or anything like that. So sometimes the author may forego the hardness of their magic system to include something for the thematics of the narrative, and people can or cannot accept that. People accept Hidan's immortality and powers much more easily than they can accept Kakashi just getting a perfect Susanoo out of nowhere, simply because Hidan is a villain and because he's definitely not as strong as Kakashi with his dual MS. And Hidan is just a really cool character, even though he's completely insane. A perfect foil for Shikamaru, giving him the development that the rest of the Konoha 11 desperately needed in Naruto Shippuden, and yet they didn't have it, unfortunately. Watch this video right here for more entertaining Naruto content. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, and like this video too to help me out. It only takes 2 seconds, come on. Thank you so much for watching.